Hello, I'm Brett Moss, and you're watching The Defining Moment for Creating the Culture of Conscience. Our guest today is Chetan Parkyn. Chetan is the author of Human Design, which has just been published for the first time in the United States by New World Library. Chetan, who's originally from England, is a master of the human design system, which he first learned about in 1993. Chetan gave up his international career as a mechanical engineer and now assists people in understanding their human design, which also takes him all around the world. He does counseling in human design, he leads seminars and teaches classes which are very well attended. He and his wife, Carola, live in San Diego, California. Chetan Parkyn, welcome to The Defining Moment. It's really an honor for me to welcome you here to our studio. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for your invitation, Brett. I'm delighted to be here.
My pleasure. Our topic today is Unleashing Our Human Design, where science serves spirituality. And I'd like to begin by inviting you to share a defining moment from your own life.
Thank you, Brett. Well, of course, all of us have many defining moments in our life, but what I really considered about this was I grew up in jolly old England, as you said, and I trained as a mechanical engineer. And I had a knack for being able to fix things, so people would fly me all over the world to go and fix things for them. And my travels took me all corners of the globe. I went to India many times, and I ended up on a trip through Africa. I drove from Tunisia down through Africa and across to Kenya. And by the time I arrived in Kenya, I hit the wall. I was 27 years old, and none of my life was making sense anymore. While I'd been in India, I'd been introduced to this very wise man that was living there, a man called Osho, an enlightened mystic that was living there. And I figured to myself, you know, if I really wanted to find out what was going on in my life, I should go and see what he had to say. So I went to his place in India, and he is somebody that used to discourse to thousands of people every day. Every topic under the sun, every nationality was there. Fascinating place to be, but a lot of people had personal questions to ask him, and he got a little bit overloaded by all these personal questions because he had to address all kinds of issues for people. So he'd say to people, if you have a really personal question, there's a man that lives in Bombay, you go and visit with him, he'll tell you everything about yourself, and then you'll never need to ask me again. So I took him at his word. I went down to Bombay, I found this man. He's a man called a Chaya Shastri, which is basically a shadow reader. And I went to this man's door. He opened the door and said, "Oh, good, I was expecting you." Well, I hadn't made any kind of an appointment. He sends me downstairs with his son, and his son proceeds to measure the length of my shadow with a funny-looking ruler. We go back upstairs again. He gets the measurement. He asks me my birth date. He does some astrology. He does a calculation there. He asks me my full name. He does numerology, works out a triangulation of calculations. He's satisfied with his calculation. He's got a desk, and behind the desk he's got this big long bookshelf. He rolls his chair along behind his desk, all these identical looking books behind his desk. He pulls out one, brings it back to the table, opens it up to a page and starts reading. 1,000 lifetimes ago this, 100 lifetimes ago this, last week, next month, parents' names, religion you were brought up in, the work you do, where you are in your life now. Well, you can imagine my hair was standing on end. It's like, how did he know this stuff? And he closes the book up and he looks at me and says, "I want you to come and work with me." I say, "What are you talking about? Work with you? I don't know anything about this stuff." He says, "No, you do. You know exactly how to do this kind of stuff, and I'd like to train you." And I think for a couple of minutes I say, "Well, I can't possibly accept your invitation. I mean, I don't know this stuff." And he just laughed. And he said, "It doesn't matter, because you're going to do this work anyhow. There's a system going to come into your life. You're going to work with this system. You're going to reveal it to thousands of people, and you're going to help them to discover who they are in their lives. So my suggestion to you is, you might want to start learning how to read for people, do something or other." Well, I went out of that place. I was walking beside myself. I didn't know what it was that had happened. How could he know all this stuff about me? It happened, and as we agree, there's no coincidences in this world. A week later, I met this man who was a psychic palm reader. And he said, "Oh, let me look at your hands." And he showed me around the hands, and he said, "Oh, I could show you a few things. Why don't I?" And for 10 minutes, he pointed out this, that, and the other about reading people's hands. And he said, "Okay, that's enough now. Now you practice. I've shown you enough." That was my training, 10 minutes. So from there on, after, anybody that was brave enough or wanted to hold their hands out in front of me, I would look at their hands and I'd tell them what I saw. and they would tell me whether I was accurate or not. And over the years, I worked out how to communicate with people, how to tell things to them, things that they could relate to in their life, and I found I was actually quite good at it in my own sort of a way. Sure enough, in 1993, the human design system came into my life. It had been downloaded in its entirety in 1987, and the person who'd downloaded it brought it to America, and an old friend of mine sent me a chart of my own makeup. I took one look at this chart and I recognized right away this is what this shadow reader in India had been talking about. And so from then on I started studying. I devoted myself to studying everything about human design. My background in engineering helped me, surely. But he'd told me about this system. He'd told me I'd be writing a book and revealing this system to the world. And so here we are today. You know, in a very different context in my life than mechanical engineering. But I've been working with human design for years now and basically showing people all about themselves in their lives.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for that. Now, you mentioned downloading. I don't think you're referring to downloading something from the internet, are you?
1987, it was kind of early days for the internet, but no, he was given this system. It was, what can we call it, a transmission from somewhere else. We could say, you know, how did Einstein work out E equals mc squared? You know, maybe he worked it out in his mind, or maybe just he got a moment of inspiration, but that's the closest I can come to it.
Okay, very clear, thank you. Why is it so important to discern whether or not the life we're leading is consistent with our unique individual design?
However you want to look at your life, all of us come into a unique lifetime. We're here to be ourselves. You know, that if you want to say God has a plan for us, your plan is to be yourself. You are an unique expression of God in all His glory. And this is what we come here to be. So I look around in nature and I see trees being trees, and I see dogs wagging their tails and being dogs, and I see birds being birds. But I look around seeing humans doing some very odd things. Very odd, you know, being very different than who they're designed to be. So if we're going to be true to our nature, it's a very important thing for us to understand how we're designed to live out our life, and that is what human design is all about.
Yes. Okay, good. So what is human design?
Well, human design is a 21st century system. It really is a device for these times. I call it a self-remembering tool. And it's composed of 4 ancient wisdom systems. We use astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, and the chakra system. And all these 4 wisdom systems are fused together to bring about this whole new system, this whole new way of looking at things. So when we look at human design, we're not reading astrology, we're not reading the I Ching, we're not reading the Kabbalah, we're not reading the chakra system, but we are working with assets of these wisdom systems together. And these ancient wisdom systems are brought together with 2 modern-day 21st century systems. The one is neutrino physics. I would love to talk about neutrino physics for a bit, but it's a little bit of a complex issue. But let's just say neutrinos used to be a theory, that they are particles of mass that fly through the universe near the speed of light, and they pass through everything, and they carry a little bit of mass with them. In 1997, they were proven to be an actuality by experiments conducted both in Japan and in Canada. They proved that these neutrinos do exist. There's 3 trillion per second per square inch in every direction, moving through everything. And they're like the messengers of the universe. They travel from the stars, they come into our solar system, they pass through the planets in our solar system, they carry the influence of the star with the planet in our solar system, and then come into us. And so they convey that particular characteristic into us. The other 21st century scientific part of it is the human genetic code. Fascinating numbers in the human genetic code. We have 64 genetic codons associating with 6 bases. In the Chinese I Ching, there are 64 of the hexagrams in the I Ching and 6 lines in each hexagram. And it was proven in 1973 there is an exact correlation between the hexagrams in the I Ching and our human genetic coding.
Fascinating.
So long story short, what we do with human design is we read people's genetic makeup.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is intense.
Yes.
Amazing.
Amazing. It's a 21st century device.
Fascinating. Okay, well, you've definitely got our attention. So tell us about the practical benefits of learning about one's unique human design and becoming free to truly be oneself.
What a delight to be oneself. We grow up in life, we come into a particular family and a particular culture and a particular religious background, and we're given all these ideas and these schooling ideas of who we are and what we're about. And of course, we're a unique individual. And if we don't understand how we're designed to live out our life, we start trying to live our life on everybody else's ideas. And no wonder we start tripping over stuff. So human design puts you absolutely, it's like you have a mirror in front of yourself. And we've very specifically worked with human design to work out these 3 keys, what we call type, authority, and profile. There are 6 of these different types. Each of us have a particular type. We would all actually consider ourselves to be manifestors in life, that we could just go out in life and do anything we want. And when we look in the human design typing, we find that only 10% of the world are actually manifestors. The rest of us aren't. So, trying to make things happen, we often fall short and find ourselves in great difficulty trying to do that. So understanding your type is a great thing to understand, and how to work with that type and see how it works for you in your life. The second key that we have is authority, how you make decisions for yourself. Well, if you went to any kind of school like I went to, we were all taught how to think about life and try and think our way through life, and inevitably we find that our brain could go this way or it could go that way. It's perfectly divided in half, and we could choose one way and say, oh, that sounds good, this looks like the right thing to do in this moment in time. But then we could say, well, actually, I could have gone the other way as well. So we're always kind of in a split. With human design, when you understand your authority, and there are 6 of these different authorities within us, if you find the authority that is part of your design and you make decisions according to that authority, you are on target in your life every single time. And let's face it, these days, Brett, we're given so many things we have to make decisions about. Things that never came across our screen before in our lives. Now we have to make these decisions. So when you make a decision that is correct for you every time, you're absolutely in tune with your life. And it has a ripple effect around you. You're clear in your life, everybody else starts getting clear in their life too. And the third of the keys is what we call profiles. There are 12 of these profiles. Some of them are very personal, some of them much more interpersonal. And when you understand how to work with your profile, you're basically recognizing how the world sees you and how the world will start interacting with you. So I say this is a 21st century device. It's a self-remembering tool. And when you understand the gist of your 3 keys that are specific to you in your design, you basically are going to have a life transformation. And you'll start living the life you were born to live.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, you've made available on your website the opportunity for anybody to go there and put in the necessary information, which is very basic, and then a chart is generated.
Yes.
And you have a sample chart. Can you say something about that process and maybe show our audience what a chart looks like?
This is a typical chart that comes from the program. It's a free software. You can download it from our website, humandesignforusall.com. And there's a little report that comes with the chart sometimes, depending on which part of the website you fill out. But we end up with a triangular picture here. And in this triangle, you can make out the shape of a human makeup. And there are these 9 centers in this life chart here. And some of the centers are colored in, and when they're colored in, it indicates to us these centers are turned on 24 hours a day. So we're looking at your chart here, Brett, and you've asked me not to go too specifically talking about you so much, but you have a mind that is always thinking, and a very clever mind. If somebody can make sense out of something, you can. But you'll find in your life, you have to end up making your decisions from this center over here, which is the emotional center. You're a feeling man. You have to feel your way into things. And sometimes getting to a point of feeling clarity can involve a great degree of patience, having to ride out the emotional waves in your life. And we have your 3 keys written down here. You're a projector by design, and we say about projectors they really enjoy their life very well when people are recognizing them and inviting them into things. And it feels like this is the way I can get involved in things most easily. And projectors typically are the guides in life. They can help other people, direct other people, steer other people in their life journey. Your type is your authority, how you make decisions is emotionally, feeling into things, finding a place of feeling clarity that is not attached to either the top or the bottom end of an emotional cycle, but which is a continuity that is not attached to expectations, but is just very clear emotionally. kind of detached a little bit from how things are supposed to turn out, but in for the ride of it all. And then the profile that you have a 4-1 profile, and it's a very specific profile. You're somebody that has a very heartfelt view of the world. You'd love to see the world all in symphony together. That would be a great thing for you. And as much as you can, you allow the world to see you in that respect, that you're somebody that brings the world together as a family. So, that's very much in brief what I can say about it, about a typical human design chart.
Okay,
There's
great.
a lot of explanation in the book about all these assets.
Yeah, so the book is really, thank you so much for that. So like you said, the book is really a guidebook to help people understand exactly what their chart means, as well as anybody else that you'd want to create a chart for. And what's the information that a person needs to know in order to create a chart?
Well, it's a very simple thing, just your name. You put in your name and your date of birth, place of birth, and time of birth. And then the program draws up your chart for you. Anybody can download this software. It's a free software from the website. And of course, I encourage people, have a look at your own chart first, find out what your story is. But then you'll be absolutely amazed when you look in your parents' charts, your children's charts, the people you work with, your friends. And when you understand their types and their authorities and their profiles, you'll be absolutely amazed. There's a whole new level of communication that opens up. Not only do you honor yourself in your own makeup, but you start honoring everybody else in your life as well. We are all here as individuals. And when you start acknowledging yourself as an individual, and you start acknowledging everybody around you as an individual, all of a sudden the whole context of life moves into a much higher realm.
Okay, very clear. Thank you so much. Why is human design an example of science-serving spirituality?
Well, I described to you these two very 21st century scientific tools that we're playing with these days, the whole concept of neutrino physics, what makes the universe tick, how are we all interlinked together? And the human genetic code that people have become fascinated about in the last few years, that we do have this coding in us. And when I'm looking at somebody's chart like this, I am actually looking at these genetic codons that are linked together here. So science meets spirituality, yes, absolutely. When you're in tune with yourself, you're in tune with the universe, you're in tune with God, however you want to look at your life, you are in tune. And you're moving towards your own realization.
Now tell me about whether or not it's possible to alter someone's genetic code.
Well, it's inevitably, Brett, from the get-go in our life, this chart is like a snapshot of the universe for the moment of your birth. But inevitably we get told all these other kinds of ideas about ourselves, so we tend to get a little bit out of order with our own makeup and our own design. What I say to people is when they recognize their human design and they come back into tune with who they're designed to be, then, they go out of that walking beside themselves, they come back into being themselves in their own life again.
So that's where the magic happens.
That's where the magic happens. We are, our whole thing in this life is to be ourselves. That's what God wants us to be, is be yourself. We're here for that.
And so mostly people aren't.
Well, we get these strange ideas, don't we? We start acting out somebody else's life. We start following somebody because they seem a little bright or intelligent, or they got some amazing wisdom to share. And we start trying to make our life be like theirs. And of course, this is a little bit of an aberration.
The keeping up with the Joneses, that whole thing.
However we do it. We want to be like some movie star or something or other. And even they don't know, because they're playing out some act out of some book or something. So we tend to move away from the clear sense of what we're here to do. I mean, I've been reading for people now for 30 years, and I read people's hands for a lot. And people would always ask me, what am I here for? What's my life purpose? What am I supposed to do? And for a lot of times I'd look in somebody's hand and say, well, there's this going on, and you might consider this as an interesting thing in your life. And then it suddenly dawned on me, you're here to be yourself. That's what it is. There's nothing else going on here except to be in your own life, whatever that entails. And of course, if you can celebrate in your life and really enjoy who you are, what a great thing that is.
Yes.
You can imagine God and everybody else celebrating with you.
Yes. Fully realizing your potential.
Absolutely.
Okay, very clear. Thank you so much. In what ways is human design facilitating quiet revolutions of liberation and human empowerment?
Well, I'm happy to say, Brett, that I've been in the position to read for thousands of people now, all over the world. And my wife and I, we do a lot of work together. And she's very much the counseling person. She can help people get themselves out of difficult situations in their life. But what we found between the two of us is there's a real revolution that can take place in people's life when they understand how their life is designed to be lived. It's almost like when I read for somebody, the first thing I start seeing is they start breathing more deeply, they start relaxing into themselves because it rings true for them. They start hearing things about themselves that resonate within them. And it's just the greatest thing for me to watch people come back into themselves and to relax into being who they are. That's what the human design can do for people, is bring people back into their true nature again. So the effects are very far-reaching. You know those times in your life when you're really relaxed in who you are and enjoying your life. And
it's sort of like being a child again.
Something like that, yes. But it's like when you see how to interact with everything that confronts you on your terms, in your own right, you start standing a little straighter in your life and you start feeling really comfortable and at home here. So it's really a 21st century tool. We're being pushed in all kinds of directions these days. All kinds of systems are rearranging and changing. And if you're clear in your own way of how you interact with your life, then the effect is really revolutionary. It's huge.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Thank you so much. And what about on the social level in terms of how do you feel that human design can lead a social transformation of human life as we know it?
For anybody I've ever met that is being true to themselves, anybody that runs into them, anybody that meets them, anybody that has any kind of interaction with them, and they see somebody that's integrated and clear in their own nature, that's going to rub off on them. That's going to have an effect into the world around them. What I found, particularly in my family and the friends that I have around me, when I'm clear in myself, and I'm saying clarity coming because I'm remembering the keys in my human design, I'm remembering the nature that I've been born with, I start seeing that they have a great deal of relaxation and ease in being able to relate with me as well. So it moves out into the world around me. If I'm clear in myself, I have that possibility of being clear with somebody else, and it has a mirroring effect. So it spreads very quickly. What I found is amongst the people that I would say talk human design language a little bit, you know, we recognize our types and our authorities, and we relate to each other on these ways. Because we can recognize these things about each other, then there's a whole new level of communication, trust, self-love, love between us that takes place. We're honoring not only ourselves, but the people in our lives around us.
So it really opens a whole new dimension of, you'd say, relating authentically
absolutely
with one another.
Yes, absolutely that.
Okay. Now what's the best way for people to get started in discovering their own human design?
Yeah. Well, it's been my absolute pleasure working with New World Library this last year, and they've just published 3 days ago. They brought out the book. They've done it so beautifully. And I would just encourage people, get a copy of the book and have a look through it and get the software, draw up a chart, have a look at your chart and read in the book and see what it is that goes on there. On our website also there's a possibility of getting a little report, and you can go on the website and put in your information. We'll send you a report. You have everything to gain from this. Check it out, try it out, find out what your type is, find out how you make decisions that work for you every time, find out what your profile is and see how the world relates to you. There's a lot of information in the book. It's written in a very straightforward language. I had to move out of my mechanical engineering side and put it in straightforward English. I had a lot of help with it, working with a great team of people, and so it's a very readable book, and I say it's for everybody.
Now what's amazing to me is, you know, in terms of the value that you're able to deliver to people who, you know, who get started in this, it seems like people should be paying much more for it, that, you know, in terms of the value that you're able to offer people, in terms of the understanding and even the personal transformation and liberation that's available. I mean, really, the only price that you're asking is the price of the book. So aren't you, in a sense, giving away something that that is like, I don't know, more valuable than the price of a book?
Well, maybe I'm foolish in this respect, Brett. Who knows? We also offer trainings. We do trainings for people that want to learn more about it, and definitely some people have the gift of being able to read and work with this information. It's a fascinating subject. What can I say? You know, some things in life come very easily to us. Who's to fight with that? You know?
Okay. And have you yet seen human design applied on the level of organizations?
Yes, in some respects. I've been called into certain businesses sometimes to help straighten out the working situation. When you understand the keys and a few other aspects about design, it's possible to arrange businesses in a way that, you know, everybody derives a benefit because they find out what it is they're best equipped to do in their work situation. Mm-hmm. Families, I have so much fun with families. Parents, you know, imagine understanding who your child's designed to born to be. Mm. And imagine for the child, my goodness, you know, my parent actually recognizes me and acknowledges me for whom I am, not just their child. Mm. Teachers with their kids and stuff in their classroom, they relate to the kids according to their design. Endless.
Yeah, the sky's the limit.
The sky's the limit. There's a lot of healers work with this. They find out how to work with their patients and people according to their design. It's all written in there.
Yeah. Really fascinating stuff. I'm so impressed by your work, and thank you again for being our guest today. How can people get a hold of human design?
Well, I'm happy to say all good bookstores are holding the book now, thanks to New World Library. It's also available through our website, Human Design for Us All, which I advise people to go to anyhow to get the software and to look at these personalized reports they can get as well. So there's no limits to this, Brett. Yeah, the book is very available.
Chetan Parkyn, I'm really grateful for you having been a guest on our show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brett. My great
God bless
pleasure.
You. Thank you so much. You've been watching The Defining Moment for Creating the Culture of Conscience. You can find us on the internet at www.definingmoment.tv. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.